Bitcoin just hit $114,000 as today's inflation data came in cooler than expected. Now, we've been expecting a pump in this market, but in today's video, I'll be telling you exactly what I think could be happening next ahead of tomorrow's inflation print, which is arguably a more important one. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So I was very vocal about Bitcoin moving higher, and I talked about the path. Right now, you can see our Bitcoin trade is currently sitting right around $13,000 in realized profits, and we're currently sitting in an unrealized profit of around $17,000. Now, we talked about it in yesterday's video and the videos all the way up from last week, and you can see here that from the lows, we got a very significant bounce. We kept on holding on to $112,000, and you can see that the trend just simply continued. Now, we approached this high, broke through it, so what is next? Because does this mean that Bitcoin is just going to make a new all-time high immediately? I'm not that convinced. You'll remember that in yesterday's video, I talked about the path that I thought was most likely. Up, down, and then up. Now let's see how it plays out, because so far we did get up, but the next step should, in theory, be down. And so right now I am currently looking for shorts in this market, despite the fact that I am in a Bitcoin long. Now, what you can do with these trades is you secure your profits and then you put your stop loss at break even, because in this Bitcoin long, it was an excellent opportunity to go long from near the bottom, expecting higher prices. And it's the same thing with the altcoins. You can see here that I'm in two current altcoin trades, my ENA trade, and I also have an XRP trade open. The XRP one is currently sitting just around $2,000 in profit, and my ENA trade, I have already secured over $20,000 in profit, along with an unrealized P&L of around 24K. But my stop losses are at break even. This is how you want to trade the market. Right now, I still think that Bitcoin can crawl a little bit higher, even though I think that the next step is down. We are currently in the process of going up. So what could be a potential rejection region? Well, first of all, you can see here that this is the value area low of this entire range. And this is this yellow line right here. So far, Bitcoin has broken above it, but we are now technically back below it. This could be a potential short setup, but I am hoping for a little bit more upside from Bitcoin's perspective. The reason I say this is because we still have a lot of liquidity to the upside, but I need you to start paying attention, because you can see that on the 1-day time frame, people have started to pile into longs. On the 7-day time frame, people have also started to pile into longs even more aggressively. However, on the 30-day time frame, there is still net more cumulative short liquidation leverage than cumulative long liquidation leverage. You know I like looking at this chart, but you can see that it is indeed starting to flip. Now, just because these will start evening out, it doesn't mean that we will just dump immediately and grab that long liquidity. However, if we start to see that the longs really get out of hand here, that is when we could potentially expect a much sharper correction, which would allow us to go ahead and retest the lows, in my opinion, of course. At this point in time, I don't personally think that these are the confirmed lows that will send us to new all-time highs. However, I wouldn't ignore the fact that we do have a ton of liquidity right around the point of control of this range, which would find us all the way up to around $117,000. So let's see if we have enough fuel to get to that region. That is why I am still in my long positions. If we can start targeting this region and then we get a rejection, that would fake out the entire market, because I would imagine that as we continue to crawl up, we hopefully break out of this range. That would be the point in time where we would see that so many more longs enter the market and they start to dominate the shorts. The shorts start closing their positions and the longs start opening more and more positions, anticipating a brand new all-time high. But what if we don't get it? What if the next step, as I said, is down to retest those lows? Now, I'm just putting that out there. I know that right now everyone is super bullish, myself included. I mean, if you're in my premium group, you know that today I gave probably over 15 updates on trade setups and profitable trades, and I'm very excited to make some money in the market. However, we cannot ignore the fact that we are starting to see a little bit of a shift here. If we just continue to pump, and let's say we do go ahead and explode to all-time highs, I would be more than happy. I have my longs and I also have my spot positioning. However, I just want to issue a fair warning, because I have seen this play out time and time again, where Bitcoin goes ahead, it breaks above this level, which was a lower high. Everyone gets bullish because the structure has shifted, which I addressed in some of my previous videos, and then we go ahead and get rejected at one of the previous lower highs. So let's just be a little bit cautious here and not get in over our heads. We know that Bitcoin can go ahead and get rejected, but I do put my money where my mouth is, and you can see that I'm trading this market actively every single day. That reminds me, if you want to join my free premium group, you have the first link in my description down below. Now, everyone in the group has been printing recently because I've been talking about a nice pump from the lows, which we have gone so far, but I may be flipping short as I outlined so far in this video. And so if you want to partake in any of the trade setups that I share, my own personal trade setups, you have that first link in my description down below. All you have to do is click this link, and then you'll be redirected to this page where you can send me a message, and in that message, write the word premium. That tells me that you want to get onboarded into my free premium group. Just a little disclaimer though, you do need to sign up with one of my affiliate exchange links if you want to access this group. You start trading on Bluffin or Weeks and you're good to go to join my free premium group. So if Bitcoin starts closing again back below $112,000, that's the point in time where I would say, hey, it looks a little bit shaky here and we may go ahead and move lower. But until then, there is all the reason to believe that we can still grab some more upside liquidity before we go ahead and make this move. And my guess here is that after we grab the upside liquidity, we make the move down and then we make the move up, which would be the final leg of this bull market cycle. So maybe it looks something like this, where we go ahead, grab this liquidity somewhere around this region, we get rejected, we come back down and actually form another low below $107,000, and then we get the pump afterwards. And believe me, I do want to see us just go straight up, and I don't mean to be a negative Nelly here, but the thing is, I just want to paint a realistic picture for you in the market. I was vocally bullish at the lows, and now I want to operate with a little bit more caution. Let's see if we can grab that upside liquidity, and I will make sure to keep you updated as the price action develops. Now, we also have some liquidity to the upside here, right around $115,000 on this 24-hour time frame. So you can see that some more people did start to enter some shorts right around this region, which is a potential rejection zone, but I still think we have some probability to chop up a little bit higher before we go ahead and move lower. Now, why do we pump? Well, the latest inflation reading gave us 2.6% for PPI. The forecast was 3.3%. Now, the reason why this is so important is because we know the unemployment rate has been rising. But if inflation was getting out of control, that would cause the stagflation issue that we've been addressing on the channel. However, if inflation is actually lower than expected, this increases the odds of a potential larger rate cut, which of course is bullish for the markets. So, right now, you can see that there's a 10% chance that we actually get a 50 basis point rate cut next week. And there's a 90% chance that we get that 25 basis point rate cut. So it seems inevitable, like we're gonna get rate cuts, especially with this most recent inflation reading. However, we need to understand that tomorrow we do have core inflation rate, which a lot of people would argue is much more important than PPI. So we'll have to see what this is. If this comes in lower than expected, then I actually would be favoring another little move to the upside. If I can give you any piece of advice right now, it would be to not be overly aggressive with your trading. If you entered along at the lows, secure some profits and put your stop loss at break even in case we just break down from here. In my opinion, if you're not already positioned, it's best to wait for these inflation readings. Let's see what happens. Now, I also wanted to go over some quick news. This is something we actually just talked about. Jobs data revised lower by 900,000 jobs, which was the largest in history. The market dumped a little bit, then we got a pump because it signaled, yes, of course, we're going to be getting rate cuts. June marked its first month with US job losses since 2021. PPI inflation unexpectedly fell by 0.1%, which was the second decline in 17 months. And the US unemployment rate rose to 4.3%, highest since July 2024, awaiting August CPI and PCE inflation, which last jumped in July. So this is the data that we're waiting on for tomorrow. Is the Fed late? And this brings up a topic that we've been addressing on the channel at length: President Trump versus Fed Chair Jerome Powell. President Trump says Fed Chair Jerome Powell is a total disaster who doesn't have a clue. And to be fair, this time around, it really does seem like he's right. At first, the inflation readings were a little bit tricky to navigate, but if tomorrow's inflation reading comes in lower than expected once more, I have to say, President Trump would be 100% on the money. And we now also have BlackRock CIO saying that the Federal Reserve should cut interest rates by 50 basis points next week. So there's a lot of pressure on Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Something else I wanted to just show you, BlackRock now holds roughly $100 billion in crypto assets. These guys aren't going away anytime soon. So over the long term, you want to be accumulating Bitcoin because, as I've always been saying on the channel, I firmly believe that Bitcoin is the future. And that's why I also say that it wouldn't surprise me if in the future, Bitcoin sits at around $1 million per Bitcoin. Now, I'm not the type of guy to make outlandish predictions, but I'm just sharing with you exactly why I even started this channel. I trade the markets and the profits that I make go straight into Bitcoin to keep on accumulating. Now, near the bull market top, I will be selling some of my spot Bitcoin stack only to go ahead and accumulate much lower in the bear market. I hope that makes sense. And that sums up today's video. Inflation came in lower than expected, and of course, the markets rallied. Now, if tomorrow's inflation reading is a little bit lower than expected once more, we will likely see some more upside into the liquidity. I want to warn you though, I am still looking for a potential short in this market as my longs continue to play out. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.